Hello and welcome to the Music Survival Guide, the independent musician's guide on how to survive in the music industry. My name's Phil, a mixing engineer. Hope you're doing marvellously well out there this fine August day. I was hoping to bring you an interview, as I tend to do every month, but I managed to successfully fail to get one organised. I'm going to say it's, holidays, and it's been really hot, and planning and organising has not been my forte. So, sorry. But here, I think, is a really important idea to get your head around for your band, for your music project. Prioritisation. It's not a sexy subject, but it's an important subject. I think when it comes to prioritisation, as a band, as an artist, you need to think about what you are trying to achieve. What is your big thing that you are aiming for? That will determine what you're trying to do, what your priority is. What are you trying to do more of right now? What do you maybe need to do less of? That's kind of an important thing to think about. And maybe if you're struggling to think about kind of how to approach this topic, think about this. If your band could only achieve one meaningful thing in the next 12 months, the next year, what would you choose it to be? Would that be more gigs? Higher, bigger gigs, that kind of thing? Would it be to record and release your next thing, your next EP, your next album, your next single, whatever it is? Would it be to grow your fan base online on social media? Whatever it is, that is going to help you work out what your main priority is. And you may have different answers as a band. You need to work out together what your main priority is. You need to think about these things really importantly. Because the reality is, as a band in the modern world, with probably having a job and music being a side thing alongside trying to be social and trying to do all the parts of your life, you cannot prioritize everything. You do not have the time and the space to prioritize everything. So you need to work out what is really, really important for you. I think it's worth thinking about the fact that urgent does not equal important. So, for example, responding to DMs on your Instagram or whatever, or your emails feels urgent for obvious reasons. But writing better songs, rehearsing or recording your next release, that is more important. I think the difference is that important stuff is generally going to help you down the line, whereas urgent things are stuff that's going to help you now. It's not to say that that's not important. It's not to say that if a promoter is emailing you about some important questions that you don't need to answer, but it's going to help you work out where the majority of your energy should go. If you're spending all your time doing doing urgent things, then you won't have space for the important things, and that's bad. Here's the question to ask, and this is a difficult question, I'm going to freely admit. Are you taking your own priorities, or are you taking the priorities of others? That is a really difficult question to answer, and it may be upsetting when you realise what the answer may be. Hopefully not, but it may be. I think you have to agree as a band a list of shared priorities. So what big priority is there that you need to aim for as a band? Obviously you need to refer to my earlier question. If you can only achieve one meaningful thing in the next 12 months, what would you choose? Talk about it as a band, work out what that thing should be. And then maybe think of 3 or 4 or even 5 actions that will help you get to that priority, get it sorted. For example, if you want to record a next single, and you're doing a lot of home recording, what are you going to record first? Let's say you are doing drums and you've got all the equipment to do it yourself. Record the drums. That is action number 1. Action number 2 might be recording the bass. This is a bit logical, but for example, if it's something a bit different, like booking gigs, action number 1 might be to either contact the promoters that you know and see what's available, or to get a list of potential places that you want to play and to work out how to play them. Like, how do you get in touch with the right people to play that venue? Those kinds of things will help you get towards your big priority. And it's really important, especially in the age where, you don't have all the time that you might want to have. It's really important to make sure that you are targeting your time to do the right thing, to focus on ultimately what you want to do, which is make music. Nobody really wants to do all these prioritization exercises and working all the logistics, blah, blah, blah. But it's really, really important for your future success. Really important. As I said, time is limited and you need to work out what's important. If you're doing something, what do you not have time to therefore do? That's a really difficult question. If you're spending too much time rehearsing, and that is a possible thing to do, is that stopping you gigging? Is that stopping you making true progress by gigging? Because I think gigging really is where the kind of chickens come home to roost, as it were, where you really work out what you're made of as a band. And until you do that more often and regularly, you won't know what you're made of as a band. If you spend all your time rehearsing, it's not to say rehearsals are bad, especially when you're a newer band or you're working out new material or stuff like that. But it's a matter of balance. It's a matter of prioritization. A final kind of thing to think about maybe is the 80-20 principle. I don't know if you've come across this. It's sometimes called Pareto's law. I think it's something like that, which is that in this case, 20% of the actions are making 80% of the results. So what are you doing that's the 20% that's producing 80% of the results? That is what to focus on and to prioritize. For example, have you noticed that when you get a bigger social media presence, when your social media presence gets bigger, especially in certain places, you are getting to do bigger gigs in that place? Maybe, therefore, the really important thing to do is to start to focus on your social media and to grow it in order to get those bigger gigs, in order to get those other benefits that are really, really helpful. This is a really thorny subject, don't get me wrong. I really hope you don't disagree as a band on what your priorities are, but I honestly think it's something that's well worth taking some time to think about, to consider, to work out where you stand as a band. So thank you for listening to this episode of the Music Survival Guide. If you thought it was helpful or even useful, please do share it with any friends or bandmates to start a discussion about this topic. If you have a chance, please do write a review wherever you listen to podcasts. It helps others discover this podcast through the all-powerful and almighty algorithm. Finally, if you're thinking of recording or mixing, then please do drop me a message on the link to the podcast description below and we can have a chat all about it. And I will see you next time.